future trends, deep insights, industry leaders. This is the iGaming Next podcast with your host, Karolina Pelc.
Welcome back to iGaming Next Online.
There's not just one goal, there's multiple goals.
Ignore dilution if the deal's good because you'll make more from a bigger pot.
It wasn't that people preferred the office or preferred remote. They actually preferred the option.
In other words, COVID-19 is giving us a glimpse into the future.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of my podcast for iGaming Next. My name is Karolina Pelc. I'm a founder and CEO of a company called SharedPlay. And today I've got a very special guest, the very first female guest on my podcast. And I'm thrilled for it to be Shelly, who's a long-standing friend and an inspiring mentor. Hi Shelly, thank you for joining us today.
Hi Karolina, it's a pleasure.
Shelly is, as most of my guests, a very well-known figure in the industry, but as with everyone, I'd like to give a brief introduction. Shelly Suter-Hadad has served as the Chief Executive Officer of Casumo since October 2019 and has overseen the expansion of the company from a single brand to a global gaming group. Previously, Shelly served as the Chief Operating Officer and Managing Director, as well as Director of Business Development and Head of Marketing Operations during her 11-year tenure at Mansion Group between 2008 and 2019. Shelly has been recognized by the International Gaming Awards as Leader of the Year in 2017 and named one of the top 10 influential women by iGaming Business in 2018. Shelly, I'm really excited to have you here today. And as I probably said one too many times, I'd like to start with the question of how did you get into the industry? Because you've got backgrounds in telecom and you work for companies like Verizon in the past. What motivated you? What made you curious about joining this industry?
So as you said, I didn't have experience in gaming. It's something that was quite new and surprising. And the way I was introduced to the gaming industry was actually through my previous manager, that he was the VP Sales and Marketing, Guy Gusarski, and he became the CEO and was for many years the CEO of Mansion. So I mainly followed him because I really enjoyed working with him. I liked what we created around the customer journey, the CRM, the ARPU, the segmentation, satisfaction of customers. And when he moved from the telecom, the voice over IP business that we worked into Mansion, he recognized that there are a lot of things that could be boosted and more professionalized or improved. And that's why he called me in. So I followed him basically. When we talked a little bit privately, I know that you have an interesting journey with general entrepreneurship and education. Tell me a little bit about, some choices you've made in the past and how you feel about them now. Yes, my journey with education is something that takes a special part in my life because from different reasons, I had to pay for my studies and to make a living. And I was quite an entrepreneur when I was very young. I was dreaming to be a businesswoman and I wanted to do business. So in my 20s, while I studied my BA, I did start to do some ventures and around fashion and around merchandise and e-commerce. So I started to feel that my heart is more in the business than on the BA. Some courses were extremely boring for me, but some were amazing and inspiring. So I was very selective as I did my bachelor degree. At some point, career, excitement about making real business, practice, hands-on business took over, and I just decided not to complete my BA at that stage of my life. And as career started to develop, I really didn't feel like I needed. In general, I'm quite an autodidact. I like to sit and crack things and learn from experience. So maybe it wasn't right for me in that age. Recognized as a future executive in Mansion Group, I was asked to present an academic degree. And then I said, okay, that's about time that I'm going to do it. So what most of people will do, or what I was expected to do, is to go back
and complete my BA. But as I said, I didn't find so much interest. I felt that I gained a lot of personal experience and knowledge that maybe the level of the BA would still be not as effective, and we'll talk about effectiveness today. Why to do something only for the sake of doing it? Let's do it for the sake of really promoting myself. And I decided to have a master's degree as a first degree. So I reached out to universities. I was very selective of who I want to get a BA from, MA from. And I applied for some, I had some interviews. They didn't give me an easy life, but they did recognize and acknowledge my experience, my career, and the level that senior management that I was. So Durham University was kind enough to give me the chance. I was on probation. I had to perform extremely well in the first year, and I highly respect that. And yeah, and I did it, and I enjoyed it. It contributed. I did a lot of practical assertion on my work, so it was great. Very
I love to hear that, because it's quite similar to my education journey. I also sort of quit my first choice university after a year. Funny enough, I was studying journalism. So at the end of the day, it seems that maybe it was the right choice, considering, you know, all of the media appearances I do and articles. But I agree, it's better to study when you already know where your passion lies and try to capitalize on your strengths. So that will definitely impact some of the choices I'll make for my child in future, or some of the choices he'll make himself, and I'll just have to sit back and allow him. Something that not everybody knows about you, and I think at the beginning when I heard about it, it intimidated me until you explained that it's actually maybe not that rare, is the fact that you've got background and you've done military training in the past. Tell me about this advantage, a time that you spent in the army, and what did you do there?
Mm-hmm. So, as you said, the Israeli army is mandatory to every Israeli citizen. We have to do either the army or any other civil service. Majority do the army. So it's something that I haven't really chose, or something that I did out of my personal decision to go to the army. But I did decide that if I'm doing it, I will do it as something that will leave a mark or experience, or something very different that I will never do in any other place. Because the army give a lot of options. You can go from intelligence work to welfare to a paramedic operations. There's a lot of type of things, because the army is a big organization that require a lot of skills. But I chose to work with the infantry forces, so basically surrounded with warriors most of the day in the desert before their operation. I was also surrounded with amazing women that were my co-trainers. So it's such a balanced and diversified environment to work at. But yeah, I did it for about 2 years. And yes, that's part of my life as well.
Do you think it had an impact on the leadership skills you developed? Because I remember you also said you feel that army empowers women. So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so although I'm not sure I would make a choice to go to the army, and I was very young when this happened, definitely I was nurtured in the army. The army gave me a platform, gave me a chance, gave me opportunities to explore things, to learn things, training skills, presentation skills, leadership. Now, the trainers, they're highly respected because of the professional skills. It's not really authority, because we train the soldiers and they have their commanders and officers. So the relationship is built a lot of trust, because teaching how to use a missile is a life and death subject. So there has to be a lot of trust, and they respect highly the women trainers, because they are the top expert in those weapons and missiles.
So while we are on the subject of empowering women, I'm not going to hide it's one of my favorite subjects to talk about, especially with women. I know you've got great experience in different tactics that could be applied in work environments to empower women more. Could you tell us a little bit about your views?
So yes, we had quite a few chats about it before, and I told you after the podcast of Rafi that he was spot on. The way that he tackled the diversity in the STAR group, because I think that if you start the basics by the candidate stage, so you get applications, you make sure that you have both genders balanced, This is the great starting point, because then you give a chance. You basically give an equal chance to both sides and make the best of women win the job. Another thing that I tend to do is to make more education around why it's so important to have diversity. It's not because it's trendy. It's not because it's something that now being talked about everywhere and it looks good to have more women in a company. I think that companies really benefit, and there is a lot of researchers and a lot of proven experience that can educate people why they want them to have it. And I think that stage is being a little bit neglected. There are a lot of things that can be done around that. And the third thing is flexibility. I think that I experienced that a lot of women around me and myself, we are very, very productive, and we can work in different ways and flexible hours and produce the same level of work with the same standards and quality. So flexibility around traveling, flexibility about on hours, working from home, which now become a norm, but back then it wasn't. So that's what I would suggest.
We seem to have a little bit of technical difficulties today, but we're going to overcome, because it's either flights on my side because I live on a flight path, or volatility of the connection in Malta. So if there is certain sound issues, I apologize for that. But I think the message comes across. Shelly, we've diverted a little bit from your career journey because it was natural to touch on some subjects, but I wanted to take it back to the moment you joined Mansion. What was your very first impression of the company, of the industry, and were you able to put some of your skills into play, transferable skills that you acquired before?
Yes, so the first impression was how great to be in a digital environment, which already before in the e-com, which data in terms of percent and how to serve the best fit product to them. So that was the first thing that I noticed, and I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And when it comes to the product and the UX, it was sameness. I think that the website back then, like 10 years ago, were more or less the same. They were dark, very mimic of the casino land base, and assuming that all the players use the casino land base, so they will know very easy what to do on the website. So I think that those are the two things that I observed. I thought that there could be better use of data 10 years ago, but obviously in the last 10 years, a lot of things changed, also on the UX and also on the data. But that's were my first observation. We could take it 2 steps ahead. I felt that the telecom and the high-tech company I worked had a little bit more advanced features and advanced way. But I must say that the last 10 years, the industry had catch up a lot on those areas.
Right, and you've spent 11 years with the company, and you had a really sort of impressive career progression from the entry all the way to a CCO position. What made it an organization that kept you for so long, that made you want to be part of it for so long?
So I think that I changed a lot of roles and I developed a lot. I learned a lot of different areas in the years that I was in Mansion. I was trusted, I was given the chance, and I worked with great people. We had, as I said, Guy that recruited me, and Sagi Lahab that was the CFO, COO, and CEO during those years, and Ariel from Genesis that we worked very closely. So when you are in a great environment, doing great things, constantly developed, why leave? I didn't see any reason. And when I talk about development, obviously it's financially and professionally. So I didn't really find a reason. It did came into my mind a few places. Maybe it's about time, but then something exciting happened. So I just stayed more and more.
It's great to hear when people really enjoy their career development and companies are really recognizing valuable employees and know how to retain them. So now you are in a new role. Well, not so new because it's over a year and a half now, I guess. Yeah. But I like to ask this question because I had the privilege of working directly with the founders. We talked with Rafi about this. Joining a company as a new CEO, taking over directly from the founders, who at that time were active decision makers in the company, can be challenging. How did you approach it, and what advice could you give to other leaders that find themselves in this position?
So first of all, you can imagine how excited I was when Casumo founders reached out to me and offered me to apply for the CEO role. As I said, the whole sameness that I recognize in the industry was a fresh air when I looked at Casumo and what Casumo did for the industry. Casumo exactly looked at the assumption, they did not assume that customers already been in casinos. They created a product that fit a native digital user that didn't need to go to casino before. I think they even said that even a grandma could use it. I think this was part of their narrative of making the brand and the UX. So I was very excited. I really looked up at what the founders did and what they created and how they dared to challenge the industry and the product. So I was very, very excited and I highly respected them. And of course, look, it's never easy. I think that both for the founders and for the CEO to take control on a business over founders. But I believe that we were very conscious about this and we spoke about it openly. What are the things that we want to remain and keep in the business? What are the things that I'm bringing into the business? I was a co-pilot for some time behind the scene before I joined, which really helped. I got just enough context from the founders of the past, but they gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of understanding that I was hired to bring new methods and new ways to the business, and they highly support it. So I think that the first tip I would say is lean on each other, help each other, change it gradually, make the transition easy for the company, for the employees, and for both sides. And the second thing is express gratitude and for what the founders did to make the company where it is that you inherit as a CEO, for the great things and for the thing that you think you want to change. Just come and suggest, take a bold step and make it happen.
Thank you for explaining that. I love hearing those stories. As I said, I think it's a challenging task, but it's also a privilege to be in that situation. So let's talk a little bit about it is. Let's talk a little bit about the cultural differences. You spent a long time in one company where things were done a certain way. You're a proud Israeli yourself, and you're known for the fixer and get it done type of reputation. You join a Swedish company with known for a flat and non-hierarchical organization approach. Did it play to your previous experience to your advantage or to your disadvantage when you took the role at Casumo?
So I think that we never really discussed the flat structure because we find it a bit irrelevant. I believe that even looking at Sweden and Israel, if you think about it, beside the fact that they're completely different in the climate, one is the heat of the Middle East and one is the chilled, cold North Europe, and the fact that culturally there are a lot of differences, even the fact that Israel is in constant threat and more in a tense security situation compared to Sweden that didn't have wars in the last many years, I think the longest in Europe. There are a lot of similarities between. But they serve the same or they get to the same results in different ways. And those different ways can be balanced and work together. So although we knew that we are coming with very, very different background and different culture, the board and the founders did recognize the need to bring a little bit different method into the organization, and I recognized and was inspired by the ways that Casumo worked. I think that mixed together, this balance, make it really like the dream recipe that I find today that we didn't really discuss flat, not flat, or how I do. We just brought everything into the table, and our narrative was we want to create an organization, a strong network of people with great communication that just work together in the best way.
So following from that, if you could talk a little bit about your objectives for the first 60 days, whether that's, goals that you were given, whether that's your personal objectives. I'd love to hear about that.
So the first 60 days is it's a method that I adopted years ago, and I recommend it to everyone that going to a new is a very good on the consultant and just absorb the business, review the different department, understand the audience, understand the product, see how things are being done, go into meeting and observe how meetings are taking place, understanding the financials. Of course, that you have the day-to-day that you always need to respond and to act upon, but put enough time to explore and understand the business. This time will never come back. The beginning of a role is a one-off opportunity. After that, the grace period is done. And it's not only a grace period for the leader, it's also a grace period for the business to really, for you to understand what you have, what are your advantages. And I think that we spoke a bit about the chess analogy, that that it is, like if we would play now as a team chess and you would need to take your seat, I will observe the board, I will see the strategy, I will see the strength, I will understand the position that I have, and before I make the first move, I will learn the board. So I find it really similar to that. And I think it's relevant for any role, and I try also to encourage new managers that we recruit to take the same approach.
I think you can be proud of yourself because not only you joined a new company, but you also joined in a position that was somewhat new to you because it was a step up to this chief executive role. If you were going to look at the last 18 months and say what are the key initiatives that you and the team can be most proud of, what would they be?
Yeah, I think that the achievements that I'm very, very proud and I would be happy to share. First of all, Casumo was a great startup, very visionary startup, and everything, but it was one single brand. And the founders and I, in the early days when they recruited me, one of the vision was to make it into a gaming group. Obviously, gaming group require a mindset of going from a single brand into a multi-brand. And organization need to understand what are the benefits of the multi-brand, but also what are the challenges of operating a multi-brand environment. Multi-brand is not only a platform or technology, it's a state of mind, it's understanding its approach across the business, from branding, operation, delivery, anything. So I think that this was something that I started with Casumo, and we are now Casumo under Casino Secret and Casumo, and the transformation, it is a transformation, but everyone is doing it very, very well and collaborate. The second thing is that we had the first acquisition this year, so and the first acquisition for me. So
congratulations on that.
Thank you. It was a great, great experience. I think that acquisition is a very important tool or a way to expand your business. If it's to penetrate market access to new markets that you know that are a little bit more challenging and are not your strength as a business, or to grow through acquisition from different reasons that can take you time to market to a certain level of revenues that you want to have. So Casino Secret was a great experience, a great synergy between the company, and I can already feel the contribution that the Casino Secret team and their product is bringing into the group.
I've always loved Casumo. They've always been on the roadmap of what you need to watch when it comes to innovation. And you've got great teams on board now. So what is there in the future for Casumo? If you can give us just a little bit of a sneak peek.
One more thing that I'm really proud of is, if I look now 18 months ago, I had to build a new management team, and I feel today that I'm 95% there because we're just missing one more role, but the team is excellent. It's just very supportive, working amazing synergy. It's fun to work with. So I really feel it's one of the best management team in the market, in the industry today.
And I know some of your management team members, so I can vouch of that. They're really highly respected in the industry. So I would agree. Now, going back to the future, can you tell us a little bit? You know, the market is so dynamic that we see so many things happening, and M&As, US entries, sportsbook launches. What could you tell us about where you see Casumo going?
So I think that the thing that attracted me about Casumo is exactly where it's going. So branding, innovation, and expansion. Okay, so those are the things. So the first two are the things that I highly respected and adored about Casumo and the great job that was done. And the third one, the expansion, is what I feel the potential is and always felt the potential is. So there will be a lot of new innovation around casino, relooking again at the gamification, bringing new layer to the gamification, taking it even to a better place. We had already a few innovative collaborations with the Blue Ribbon. The gaming team did an amazing job together with the team of Blue Ribbon, introducing the jackpots, a campaign that we did last Christmas. On sport, we just touched sport. We are experiencing Casumo Sport just to get into the market, get the feel, start to transform the organization from a gaming to a multi-product as well. Besides multi-brand, it's also multi-product now. So we are experiencing, but we do feel that it's a privilege to go into the sports book environment and market at that stage. Although it looks like it's very, very late, but you have the advantage that you can introduce more innovative way, better usability, better UX for the user. I personally think that there is a lot of place for innovation in sport. You can see it in the recent Watch and Bet of Kindred, which was really exciting to see innovation in the sports book. I feel that it was a little bit stagnant in the way that it's being operated. So we will definitely have some news on that front as well. And markets, I think that we launched a lot of markets last year, and we will launch new markets this year. We just launched last month Spain, and this is an opening for more Latin countries, and there will be more countries that are being evaluated, so it's quite exciting.
I think I love hearing this from you, because you emanate excitement about the future. So that makes everyone else excited, I guess. Now taking it back a little bit away from business to some other subjects, I know that you are a very active, and fulfilled mom. And whereas we see a bit more of this happening, an appointment of a female CEO is still a rare occurrence within our industry. I think it's going to be happening more, but it's still a rare one. For women that aspire to this position, and also for boards and executives that have certain hesitance, could you tell us a little bit, how do you navigate holding position of senior leadership with a sort of fulfilled motherhood and family life?
Yeah. So we spoke a bit about work-life balance, I remember in the past, and I think that work-life balance is it's a decision. It's not that there is no 50-50, 40-60. So I think that if you took a conscious decision to invest in your career, develop your career, take a big step, do something unconventional or something great, there will be a price. And there will be a price on the family, there will be a price on your personal life and your kids, your social life. So I think that it's a very, very personal decision. And the more you're passionate about what you do and you really want to go through that journey, you will find ways. And I can only share what were my ways. I think that, I was blessed with a very supportive partner, which I think if you look at a lot of successful people, women or men, they have very strong support at home. The family, the spouse are very, very supportive. So I was very blessed on that from the early days of my career. Obviously, we always had help. We had nannies or housekeeper to help us, because when I choose to be with my family, I want to be in quality. I don't want to run around the house and try to be everything, because you cannot be everything. Now, this is true for men and women in the same way. The decision about what work-life balance is, and the decision of how long do you spend and what quality do you spend with your family and how much support. I think it's very important to find support, either professional support, childcare support, even somewhere to vent anything you have on your mind, or just to consult about things. So this was my personal experience, but it requires a lot of support and dedication, because there is a price for it.
Thank you for being so candid and authentic about it. And just to clarify, I don't ask these questions to just women, because I think that's a common mistake, to only ask women about balancing work and senior position and family. I ask this to all of my guests because I think it's equally interesting from a female and male perspective. Shelly, thank you very much for your time today. It was lovely as always. You really preach your what you say, because I do use you as a mentor and I come for advice, and you're always very very helpful. So I'm grateful for that. I hope to see you soon in a real setting for a coffee or a glass of wine. Thank you again, and I wish you the best of luck in the coming months.
Thank you very much, Karolina. It was a pleasure to spend the afternoon with you, and I really hope to see you again.
Thanks, Shelly.